Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Let's Talk Housing. My name is Brennan Thomas, and I am the co-host here alongside the Stephen Thomas, chief economist and founder of Reports on Housing. Today, we will discuss the most recent economic news and statistics, the refinance market, bidding wars, a turning point for the housing market, and much more. But first, Stephen, as like usual, what is going on in the Thomas household?
Thomas household, we've been busy, back to school. 2 out of the 5 remaining children in the house have gone back to school this week. And they've been knee deep in school and sports. And then we have our other 2, middle schooler, and of course there's Zeke starting first grade. He is they start next Tuesday, as well as our daughter graduated from high school. She is off to college next Tuesday as well. So come Tuesday afternoon, it's going to be nice and quiet in here. Not for long, because they have like half days at the beginning of the school year, dumb things like that. But then Wednesday comes along, quiet again. That's when we finally get to take out our shovel and start really putting our nose to the grindstone. And that's pretty much the way a lot of business works. So that's what's going on over here. We're just prepping for school to start and getting some swims in before school really starts for the other 2. So it's been fun. How about you? What's going on in Brennan's neck of the woods?
Quite a decent amount. Just been living it up recently. I've been going to the beach pretty frequently since it's been so warm, and been going to the fair since there's the OC fair. But also, big news for me is Arsenal, the whole Premier League season actually started today, the day that we're recording, August 16th, and they play tomorrow, August 17th. And I am like so excited, as everyone probably knows. Like, I've been waiting so long, a couple months, but I am just looking forward to everything that these next few months really have to offer, and should be a whole lot of fun and a whole lot of chaos. So, like usual. But Stephen, what has happened with the economy over the past couple of weeks?
So yeah, we're diving into the economy. We'll get into housing. The reason for that is because, the driver for our economy is rates. That's why we've had such muted demand, and also this muted number of closed sales that is just really low. So there's only up from here, and the only way to go up from here is for rates to start to ease, which we've already realized. We talked a little bit about that, but the most important thing is within this last week we had CPI, just a confirmation, consumer price index. That's just a confirmation that inflation is coming down nicely, and that little hiccup bump that occurred back in March and then sent rates soaring, that ended up being just a blip on the radar. So the inflation's coming down nicely. This is CPI that we're talking about. It's not even the preferred Fed index, even though they've been talking about it like crazy, because they know that they're going to get a lot more movement in that than they will in PCE. That's personal consumption expenditure. That comes out at the end of the month after CPI, and that's already well into like the mid 2s. So it's getting very close to their target of 2. So this CPI coming down nicely in a bigger amount on a monthly basis really does help plead the case for them to make these rate cuts that we've been talking about for so long. So we've had a few other indices that came out. It's kind of like been a moot week. Started off the week, and we've had these different things. Been expectations, some lower than expectations, some like CPI right at expectations, and then some that exceed expectations. And it's overall, it's been kind of like a nothing burger for the week. So that's where we're at right now in terms of what's going on in what the Fed would like to see. But it still paints to a rate cuts coming along in September. They should go a half a point for sure because they're late, but they're only going to probably do a quarter point. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. Also heard people talk about they should go in between meetings. That's not going to happen. They should be going a half, just like they should have already gone before. So stay tuned for that. We could still get a half, but that would mean that we had to have some pretty ugly, softer numbers in the future, and that's not really what we're rooting for.
So with the inflation prints that the Fed's actually looking at, it looks like it's all falling in line for what they're looking for. So the 2% target, like you were saying. So will the Fed really switch their attention to the job market, which is still running at a pretty solid pace?
Yeah, it pretty much. They have this dual mandate. It's full employment and it's also keeping costs down. So they've inflation's pretty much coming down. There's a lot of people that get very angry when I say that, and that's because they say everything's still totally expensive. But that's what they're rooting for is deflation, and that takes a really a deep recession in order to get that kind of deflation where you have prices coming down. We do have prices coming down. It's funny when you look at the different prices of things, but food's volatile, so you have a lot of it coming down there. We've had fuel that comes down, but had cars that have come down a little bit, and that's just because these different industries, they were actually taking advantage of the low supplies that were out there, and now they're just coming back down to normal once supplies started to there be a little bit of an equilibrium. I know this, that car lots, they don't like to see a ton of cars in their car lots, and they're adding more and more cars, so that's how they have to adjust based upon that. But it's not really overall deflation across the markets. But if you actually, with this recent CPI, pull out the shelter, which has been, it's been off because we've already had muted rents, and that's basically what they're looking at over time. So it's if you pull out that piece of it, it's actually less than 2% for inflation. So it's right where it needs to be. So they've already pretty much, they know that. So they've turned their attention already to unemployment and the overall labor market, which is why everybody is freaking out when we had that print come in so much below, so far below the expectations, and then we had this big bump in unemployment. The big argument is they're saying that has a lot to do with the hurricanes that we've had, but I don't buy it completely. We've seen way too much. We've heard too much from different industries. This is definitely going to last. This is definitely going to last longer than what people have really thought. So we're actually we're going to get the numbers coming down nicely. So we'll just have to stay tuned for that. But that's really what the Fed's been focused on for a while now, and that's why everybody's flipping out, and that's why they know that they should have gone already when they met at the beginning of or at the end of July.
So changing the tune back to real estate, Stephen, what's been happening in the real estate world with supply, demand, and our expected market time over the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, so inventories are just going up ever so slightly. And that's what happens when you're nearing a peak. And in many markets, we really haven't seen markets peak. And there are a lot of markets that peak between, it's July and September, but as early as July. We haven't quite seen those markets peak because we haven't really absorbed we've had more homes come on the market this year than last year, and we've had very similar demand. We're just now starting to see a small rise in demand, but it's very easy to come off of last year's numbers. So we're starting to see demand going up, which is good because that means more closed sales are actually coming year over year. And that has a lot to do with right now rates are coming down. Last year, I did this analysis for the last 2 years. They went from August to October. We saw interest rates in 2022 go from 5 to 7.37%. And last year, we went from 7% to 8%. In that same time period. And this is going to be the reverse. We've already been at 7.5. We'll come down towards about 6.5. And we can even see that it would go towards 6% as we start to get more and more economic numbers that show a softening. So we're going to have lower rates for the second half of the year compared to the first half. So that's really going to be an ultimate shift for the overall market. So we're seeing supply kind of reached their peak. It should peak soon as demand starts to pick up. And but here we are, we're in middle of August. It's probably going to happen right around the very end of this month for many, many markets, and then into September for other markets, and then come down from there. So it's only going up ever so slightly. It's kind of flat, and demand's going up. So based upon that, what we're starting to see is that the market, if you're in the marketplace, is getting a little bit hotter. No one should get ahead of themselves. This isn't turning into a hot seller's market like as if it was spring, but it's no longer slowing, which many people think that, oh, we're going into the fall market or we're going into the holidays. That's not necessarily so. In 2019, we had one of those years very similar to what we're teeing up right now. And that's where we'll actually watch the market get hotter as the year progresses. And people will be scratching their head going, what in the world's going on? Well, I've described it. Better rates for the second half of the year will fuel more demand and will make the market hotter. So that's the direction we're going. And it's just right now tipping.
So according to the Mortgage Bankers Association, mortgage refinancing surged 35% in 1 week when interest rates hit the lowest we've seen in over a year. When will we notice a large spike like this in mortgage applications?
Yeah, so you're just seeing this slight change in mortgage applications. Of course, refinancing totally makes sense. When you go down a full percentage point, a lot of people had rates that were 7.5% or higher, and now that we're hovering right around 6.5%, that's the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is, shoot, when you've come down more than 1% from where if the rates of today are a full percentage point less than your rate that you have on your locked-in fixed mortgage, time to look at refinancing. You're going to save considerably. I think for like $1 million home, it's almost like $500 a month that you save with that kind of a change. So it just absolutely makes sense to go ahead and do it. Pull the trigger and refinance. Now you can imagine that what this is doing is there's a lot of people are waiting for markets to crash and things like that. But then as rates continue to go down, it's just applying more pressure, and it has to be at these low levels for duration. So, but we've kept it right here, right at 6.5%. I can imagine if it goes even lower than this, it will have even more duration with these lower rates. We'll start to see it more and more in the demand numbers, and that will eventually tip the scales more towards that hotter sellers market, and you'll notice it in the positive prints in the mortgage application for purchase. So purchase applications, we'll start to see that. It's just a matter of time, especially when we're going to start to look at it year over year, because we're going to be looking at 8% interest rates that we had in October. And shoot, we could be like at 6%. That'd be 2 full percentage points less year over year. So you can imagine what that's going to look like year over year.
With the large dip in rates recently, more prospective buyers are resuming their search for houses. Are we already seeing a slight ease from the mortgage rate lockdown?
Yeah, we already knew that this was what was going to happen this year. There's still a lot of people that aren't moving. There's a big argument from many people to say there's no such thing as a mortgage rate lockdown, and that's not necessarily totally true, because they say that it has to do with affordability. It just has to do with common sense, for Pete's sake. There's a lot of people that are sitting with these low rates now. They can afford to go ahead and to purchase and get this higher rate. But why? Why would they want to do that? They're waiting for rates to come down to equalize things. Well, you can imagine at 8% too restrictive, at 7.5% too restrictive. But then as we continue to ease, we're at 6.5%, and you can imagine as this continues to lower even more, we will get more homes that come on the market. We already have more homes coming on the market this year than last year, and the only reason for that is people are tired of waiting. If they've there's a lot of reasons that people have for moving, and if they're going to hold off and wait, shoot, it's been 2 years now since we've been stuck above 6%. And so it was August of 2022. We've been stuck here for so long that people are just going, I don't remember rates ever being that low. Or it's now no longer, man, I wish I had a rate in the 3s. It's now like right now, it's, I wish I had a rate in the 5s. And you can get there with rates in the 5s if you put like points down, or there's different ways of getting there. And as rates float down lower, it'll be easy to have something in the 5s. So that's going to motivate even more consumers to pull the trigger and ultimately purchase. So and you have to understand that's homeowners too. So that as these rates come down, it's going to motivate these people to pull the trigger, because the difference between what their prevailing rate, what their locked in fixed rate and the prevailing rate of the day is, starts to diminish. It makes it more appetizing. And I know a lot of people that once it gets in the fives, they'll go, man, I didn't think it would ever get back in the fives. I'm so glad it did. And there will be more and more people that actually pull the trigger and place their home on the market and go purchase something else.
So, with today's inventory levels almost hitting their peak and with today's mortgage rates dipping to the middle sixes, is it safe to say that we are at a turning point for housing?
This is right at the cusp of that turning point. I've been talking about it for so long with our forecast for 2024. We said either spring or summer, and then small offshoot that it would be the fall. But it didn't happen in the spring. It's come. It's already here. It's here in summer. That's why we've seen interest rates come down as far as they did. And then we talked about that next level is going to be between 6 and 6.5%. We're kind of right there. We made our way all the way down to 6.37%, but I knew that was going down too much. We need more. It's just going to take one index after another, these different releases for these economic numbers to finally chip away and say, yeah, you know what, we need a few more rate hikes, not only for 2024, but into 2025. And you'll start to see long-term 30-year mortgage rates continue to dip down. So I can anticipate that happening right around the corner. So it's any moment now. We'll have to see. Labor data comes at the beginning of September for the month of August, that first week of September. That'll be really interesting to see how much of this last one was because of hurricane, or if it continues to be less than expectations, and what happens to unemployment. So if we look at all that stuff, that can really motivate the market to get down into the low sixes, as well as for the Fed to make an additional rate cut. So not only a quarter of a point, but maybe a half point in September. So it just depends upon these more indexes that are going to be released going forward. But we're right there at that tipping point. It's going to happen. So I'm in the camp for, I want to see more transactions occur. It's not just for anybody that's tied to the real estate industry. It's all those homeowners that want to move and all those buyers that want to buy. The only thing that's prohibiting them from doing it are these high rates. So as these rates ease, that's what I'm rooting for, is rates to ease, so that we have a smoother path to more transactions, as well as for it's the Federal Reserve is so their high rates are so constraining that this will help ease things over time. And this little half point bump's not going to be, or a cut's not going to be a big deal, but it will be in the long run. And we'll start to already see that in long-term rates coming up very shortly.
So when rates continue to drop, is it safe to say that bidding wars will start to rekindle?
Yeah, I'm really leery of this coming up spring, because people are going, yeah, it hasn't really manifested himself into much of anything. But by the time we get to spring, I can make a real solid argument for being in the upper fives, and anything in the fives is just ridiculous compared to where we've been most recently. So I can't imagine if we had 5 3/4 and here we were at 7.5%. That's a big giant change just from this year alone, or back October, 8%. That is huge, and it will come smack in right where we're going to go into 2025. It will hit inventory hard, and we'll see this rekindling of a lot of offers. And we're already see what people don't understand is that we're about to hit the peak in all markets across the United States. And then as we hit that peak, so what's going to happen from here is inventory is only going to dwindle. As rates continue to go up, inventory dwindles, and rates go down, and rates go down even more and more, and inventory dwindles. And we start off the beginning of this year of 2025, and we don't have a lot of homes on the market, and we have this great interest rates. Buyers are going to be can't wait to get into the marketplace, and there will be this diminished inventory, and that will create bidding wars. That's just what we see, what's off on the horizon. And it's not anything I'm rooting for. I want to see more homes come on the market. So we'd like to see an answer to this inventory crisis, but I think it's going to continue, and that's where bidding wars come up.
On a topic we've talked about before, some people believe that the home insurance crisis has the potential to be the black swan event for the economy. Is this something that you see happening at all?
Yeah, not yet. It's more in Florida than it is here in California, but yeah, it definitely can start to impact sales. But Florida is dealing with something totally different, and that's why people are pointing towards Florida, going, "Well, it's the insurance problem." Well, we have an insurance problem here, but we still have we've had more of the markets that have been going up, and we're really expensive on top of it. So insurance is just another you add that expensive piece to the pie, and it's like, yeah, everything's so expensive at any rate. So it hasn't really hit California. Florida, they have this big giant increase in inventory, and they're a place that's slowed down, and a lot of it has to do with building too. So builders have been a big problem with that. Where they've built a lot there and in Texas. So you see those issues in those areas where they have too much inventory. Well, the slower market can actually somewhat be blamed on the insurance thing. That's where more of the noise is coming from. We have almost as big of a problem with our insurance here, yet it really hasn't impacted. You can't say that that's what's impacted sales, because sales are impacted across the United States. We're very expensive, and the impact has been very similar to the rest of the United States. So there's not all these other markets across the United States, the Midwest, and all that stuff that is hit by this insurance problem. So this could be a black swan event, not now. It'll be down in the future. It's something that we'll have to continue to watch, and hopefully there's different ways to mitigate some of these and change the path of some of these disasters, especially here we're in California with fires. It's got to be some sort of a solution they can come up with at some point, and hopefully sooner rather than later, before this insurance crisis really does start affecting housing down the road.
So, what are some of the dangers associated with not pricing correctly and cutting the price too many times?
Yeah, we do this report typically once a year. We might even do it twice this year because we already did it to illustrate at the beginning of this year already. Then if you had a price reduction, you actually net less, and we can prove that statistically. And it's not just looking at the original list price; it's the what the price that they reduce it to, and then looking at what the sales to list price ratios are compared to those people that came on the market and sold almost instantly or never had a price reduction. Their sales to list price ratio is much higher. The people that have had to reduce, even we did it, our study is no price reduction, and it's 1% to 4%, and it's 5% plus. And of course, if you have to reduce the asking price by 5% plus, you are netting less. And it's not just luxury that is incorporated in this, because we look at it's all different price properties. And what the problem is now with the way that technology works, every single buyer that's actually in the marketplace has an app or several apps that will tell them when a new home comes on the market instantly. So once they know instantly that a home has come on the market, they're pinged new listing. They're excited about it, and they can't wait to look at it. And nowadays there's virtual tours, there's lots of professional photos, there's different things for them to look at so they can get really excited about it, and they see it and they want to see it, and then they look at the price. They know what their price should be, their price point, and they know when something's too expensive or overpriced. Well, those overpriced properties, they have to reduce the asking price. When they reduce the asking price, there's not as much fanfare. You get all the fanfare up front when it first comes on the market. Those buyers still recognize the house, but they're going, man, I remember this house with the red wall. I don't think I saw it. And it's just one of those things. It doesn't create as much excitement, and you want to tap into that initial excitement. So coming out with the exact, as close as you can to the precise market value, the fair market value of a home, is so important. And you get ahead of yourself and you have to reduce the asking price. You're just not doing yourself a favor. So it's better just to spend as much time as you can arriving at a price so you don't have to reduce the asking price and actually ultimately end up netting less, because you won't get that much excitement. So you're not going to get as many multiple offers. So that's the whole thing. And you might not even get any multiple offers after you've had to reduce it so many different times. So it also it talks about urgency, and buyers as well as buyers agents are all fully aware that, well, this property's been on the market for like 120 days. Let's go ahead and see what we can get.
A recent Redfin report revealed around 56,000 homes purchases fell through last June, or nearly 15% of homes that went under contract, marking the highest percentage of any June on record. What would result in such a large amount of withdrawals?
I just think part of this is we started off the year with lower rates around 6.5%, and then we ended up with rates that got all the way up into the mid sevens, and then a lot of that stuff. If it was in April when we had the mid sevens that they locked, and they are in June and they pulled the trigger, they found something, they're in at pending sale, and they have such a high rate interest rate that they just don't want to go through with it. This will fix itself when there's not as many homes on the market, and there's a lot of more buyers clamoring to purchase. It's just one of those things where we've seen the market time erode. We've seen more homes come on the market, more opportunities. So they could actually be looking at more homes that come on the market and say, yeah, I really want that one over there. And there's that, because the sense of urgency isn't there for the buyers as much, because the expected market times have really grown this year. And so the market's a lot more, it's slower. It's not as slow. It's not even, in many markets, not even to where it was prior to COVID, but still it's a lot slower than what people have experienced before. And you slap in there these high mortgage rates on top of it, it makes it's easier to second guess things. So, but as rates come down, the fix for that is our market time is coming down. And as market times come down, you're going to see that the market speeds up. That if they lose out on the house, what are they going to go get? There's not another one that's coming on the market. They've got to deal with the multiple offer situation. So we're in a better market for a buyer. Part of that is them taking their time, and part of it is if they don't get what they want for inspections and different things like that, they might hit the road jack and go start and look for something else. That changes in the hotter market, which is what we're anticipating as rates come down.
The median FICO score for homebuyers using conventional mortgages has reached a record high of 768, according to Optimal Blue. Can this be considered a good thing following the loose requirements during the Great Recession?
Yeah, we've actually seen this. This is tracked beautifully by. We've seen various different different economic firms have pulled this data, and it's pretty fascinating to see what the FICO scores are on purchasers, and it's interesting to see, because we actually have a national mortgage database, and it talks about FICO scores, how it's been really highest since the Great Recession. So it's been very, very elevated for a super long time. And that actually talks to the strength of our current housing market, or housing stock. All the houses across the United States, they've been purchased not with adjustable rate mortgages. I can't even get into where adjustable rate mortgage is the kind that would change on a monthly basis. We don't even have that type of a product anymore. That's the way that a lot of people used to buy houses back in the day. People don't do it that way. They have fixed rate mortgages. They have great credit. They have great jobs, and they have plenty of equity in their homes. There's a lot of equity rich, means 50% plus equity. A lot of people own their homes free and clear. There are so many aspects of how strong and healthy this housing stock is. And this just, again, just shows you how strong it is. 768 FICO scores. It's not because FICO scores have changed. It just means that when you've had such a limited supply, that it's survival of the fittest. The fittest have been able to purchase, and that's who's been able to purchase are the bread and butter borrowers out there with high FICO scores, and who are able to capture lower interest rates. That's the buyers that have been in the marketplace recently.
So starting tomorrow, August 17th, new rules will roll out that overhaul the way realtors get paid to help people buy and sell their homes. Can we expect commissions to be determined by the market?
Yeah, I've heard many different executives come out and talk about it. I've heard some people do a really good job. I've heard other people go, man, yeah, I wish they would have stated it a different way. Really, ultimately, the market is going to determine how everybody is going to be paid. And unfortunately, that attorney and the class action lawsuit that where they won the big verdict is not going to change much of anything at all. The only thing that they're ultimately changing is you no longer see it in the MLS. Many MLSs have already gone away with it already this week, and then they have to have a buyer's agreement. And I know that the way that they're doing it in California is you have to have a buyer agreement, you have to negotiate commissions with your buyers, but it doesn't mean the buyers have to pay anything until a property is secured, and if you determine that the seller is paying nothing. Well, up until this point, it's 96% of all transactions paid a buyer's agent through the seller paying the buyer's agent at least a 2% commission. That's a healthy number. That's a lot, and it's not going to go from all of a sudden they're going to spend zero and then they're going to pass that savings along. No, there's going to be some people that are going to try to take advantage of this and get the full price but not pay a commission to the buyer's agent. Well, that unfortunately is not going to happen because a lot of buyers can't afford to pay their buyer's agent a commission. They can put on there 2.5% because once the agreement is agreed upon, they actually have to ask for additional compensation to cover the buyer's agent fee. And if it is less than what the buyer is willing to pay, let's call it 2% or 2.5%. If it's at 1%, the buyer has to come up with the difference. They have to decide whether or not they want to do it or whether or not they want to counter back. But if they are willing to pay that 2.5% and it matches the 2.5% that the buyer said that they would pay, the buyer actually pays nothing at that point. So you tell me how this is going to work out. A buyer is actually going to pick and choose based upon what they're going to have to pay their own agent, and no agent's going to want to work for free. This is not easy when you're showing like 50 properties and you're out there and you're representing the buyer. There is a laundry list of activities that they've got to do, and to have the proper representation, buyers want to be with the absolute best of the best, the top producers and the people that are professionals out there. That's what it's all about. And if they want to skip it and go with somebody that's going to do peanuts, they're going to get peanuts. They're going to get either Walmart service or they're going to get Nordstrom service. You get to pick and choose, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, as to which direction you want to go. Because if you choose that and you don't put that in the contract and somebody's willing to pay 2.5%, that agent can only get as much as that buyer's that buyer negotiated. So who's going to want to work for that? There's not going to be a lot. This is going to work out. And at the end of the day, the commissions are still going to be they're going to be placed on the seller side of the equation like they have been since the beginning of time, pretty much in California. Now, everybody that's bought a house hasn't had to pay a commission up to this point. Everybody that sold a house pays a commission, and it's been split. Now it's just everybody now knows loud and clear. Hey, guess what? The commissions are negotiable. Well, I'm hoping that that's what everybody was saying, anyways. Well, now it's loud and clear. Commissions are negotiable, and now you get to sit down with your buyer if you are working with a buyer and say commissions are negotiable. And I'm telling you, you don't have to pay me a dime. And we'll make these offers. And if they want to pay less and you're going to have to come out of pocket, then it's a decision whether or not you want to purchase the property or not. And it's just going to be one of those things as we add more homes, and there's been homes that have been sitting on the market. Shoot, they're all of a sudden going to not pay for a buyer to come through? What in the world? That makes absolutely no sense. So the market will prevail, and it's just going to be a bumpy ride, like as if you're coming into, man, I've flown into Vegas a few different times. Boy, that's a bumpy ride when you're flying into Vegas. But shoot, after a while, it's going to be smooth sailing because it'll all work out. That's the way the market does. The market will prevail. Sellers will be paying buyers agents commissions in the form of additional compensation for the buyer side of the transaction, however they want to put it. It's not going to change much. And this just was a big giant mess where everybody has to get through it, and they will. The real estate industry is very, very resilient, and they've shown it before. We've had these slow times before. That happened during the Great Recession. We have this. We've had the COVID. They made it through that, and they figured out how to sell properties. They will figure out how to do this as well, and the market will prevail.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone again for tuning in to Let's Talk Housing. If you want to learn more about what's going on in the real estate industry across Southern California, the Bay Area, Phoenix, Las Vegas, and more, feel free to check out our YouTube or subscribe today at reportsonhousing.com. So please leave us a good review. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to post it to any of our social media platforms, or you can email me at info@reportsonhousing.com. We will see you soon and have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.